All right, Craig. So welcome to the podcast.
The Perpetua
Podcast. The reboot.
The reboot. This is going to be the good one, though. I can sense it. I can feel it coming.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. So, we'll get into, why don't we start a bit on your background of how you started in training. How long ago was it? Probably a long time.
Oh,
but
a dig at being
absolutely.
Now.
When about did you get into training yourself?
So when did I get into training? I started training probably when I was about 17, realistically. Started training in just a normal Ben Dunn gym, like Globo gym.
Okay.
Me and one of the lads were playing football and hurling at the time. Got into it. Started going to the gym. One of the lads was playing for Dublin Minors at the time. He had a little gym program. We did that. Then we went up to the gym. Christian O'Hara, I'll call him out on this one. We went to West Point. He started looking at CrossFit videos. Sent me this. This is how many years ago now? What age am I? 29. So what's that?
12 years ago.
12 years ago. 13 years ago, probably.
Okay.
He started sending me some CrossFit videos. We just started doing, literally we were doing bench press and hang cleans.
Okay.
In the gym. That's all we were doing for like months on end.
With some questionable form,
I'm
sure.
With some very, very questionable form.
Yeah.
That's how we started.
Okay.
Now, that's how I started getting into training. And then one of the PTs in Ben Dunn gyms, Rob Flanagan, who one of my friends now, he was PTing there. Me and Christian got some PTs off him. Then he opened up a gym, which was just a strength and conditioning gym.
Sure thing.
And then that's how we kind of got into CrossFit.
Okay.
Per se.
And then, so once you started in Rob's gym, then it sort of all CrossFit sort of fell into place, and you got really involved in that, did you? How did you go from there?
To get addicted to it then.
Okay.
Because all them boys he was friends with, Rob was friends with Owen McGregor from Perpetua, as everyone knows. But yeah, he was friends with them. Then all them boys started doing competitions outside. I was still just training, very much doing classes in the gym.
Sure.
But then obviously seeing all them boys competing, and then I was like, shit, really like this.
And how did you notice your sort of physical ability then transform over those couple of years from that level in Ben Dunn to then getting into CrossFit in Rob's place and then going from there? Did you really sort of notice huge improvement over time, or how do you feel like CrossFit helped you through that sort of late teenage stage, early 20s stage?
Yeah, like obviously still, it's probably late now when you look at it, of people coming up now, like 20s probably, or like 18, 19 is late for getting into like CrossFit now, from the people that are like 14, 13 starting CrossFit. But definitely noticed massive like change, and like, because you're doing all different movements that you've never done before. So never did like front squats, even like a strength cycle, you know what I mean, like back squats, whatever it is, pressing and Olympic lifting obviously. So definitely found that when I started getting into CrossFit, I actually was getting quite good at it for the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then once you start seeing yourself improve a little bit against other people in class and stuff like that, you're like, all right, I can be good at this.
And then coming from that sort of background, that sporting background with the football and stuff, did you have quite a competitive edge, and did you like that aspect to it, and sort of even just in the classes?
Yeah, I would
say. Did you like sort of competing against the others day to day, or is it more of a sort of getting better every day with yourself as opposed to compared to the others?
Yeah, like I was all like, I wouldn't say I was always super competitive, but I was competitive enough. But then once you start seeing something that you're actually okay at, and then you're like, oh, I can beat people in this, or I can be actually good at this. You know what it is?
Yeah,
like you're like, all right, I'm going to actually try a little bit harder and like spend a little bit more time doing it, then you get a little bit better. So yeah, I actually found that like the competition side of it then kind of like took hold of me. I was like, all right, I want to beat these people in classes, just say. Then I started doing a little like
in-house competitions and stuff.
Like, in-house competitions. And then there was like little small competitions around Ireland. I remember CrossFit Tipperary was kind of one of the first ones where everyone started doing them. And it was only like, say, intermediate or scaled competition, and then kind of expanded from there. And then we're doing different competitions around Ireland. That's how I kind of got into competing in CrossFit.
Sure thing. And then how have you noticed the sort of CrossFit landscape in Ireland then change over the years? I suppose back there 10, 12 years ago, it's a long time sort of CrossFit was only becoming a thing in Ireland and really catching its legs. And then over the years, as it's grown and caught momentum, has been sort of cool to see it grow and become bigger and watch people sort of fall in love with it.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like it's changed a lot as well. Like, obviously I was looking at the lads like Owen and Rob and stuff like that, who are obviously a bit more advanced than me, especially at the time and stuff. And they were like going to like competitions outside of Ireland already. And this is a couple of years ago. So I feel like back then when I was started off, like everyone wanted to do competitions, you know, in Ireland. Like there was so many people that were like as soon as they get into the gym, that's why they were getting into the gym, was to compete. They wanted to be at the top level, especially back then, like when CrossFit only started. You're looking at the likes of all the videos on YouTube, like Rich Froning, Jason Khalifa, Josh Bridges. They were cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like a cool thing to do. They're all jacked,
Okay.
all muscly. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck, I want to look like them. I wanna be able to do that stuff. So
Absolutely.
I think like, yeah, it was a different time, obviously. It's changed a lot since then. I think more people are realizing that CrossFit's like, it doesn't have to be just like that. You know what I mean? It can
Sure.
be a thing to just keep you in shape.
Absolutely.
And
And a
be able
good
to-
community aspect to it and
community
stuff,
aspect,
and a
yeah.
good social aspect. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, so how did you get involved in Perpetua, and when did you start coaching
That's
here?
a good question.
How did that come about?
So I was traveling in Australia. This is when I was like 21.
Okay.
And obviously had trained in that gym, RF, and knew a few of the guys before that. Went traveling to Australia, spent a year over there, and then came home. And funny enough, Owen McGregor, I started coaching, in Rob's gym. Started doing a bit of coaching when I came back. Then Owen McGregor was going on holidays to Thailand for a month and a bit, and he was stuck for coaches. Who did he come calling to?
Absolutely.
So he was looking for a coach, and then he got me in.
So that's how it
trained
all
me up. So that's how it all started. I was
Absolutely.
like 21 at the time. He asked me to come in, talk through some stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to come in and coach. You know what I mean?
thing.
Like do a few classes. So obviously you had to go through a very vigorous process to get in coaching there. I spent a couple of months, I'd say, shadowing classes.
Okay.
Then taking classes or taking the warm-ups. Then got into like kind of like taking the warm-up, then taking the strength block. Then I was taking full classes, but I was doing that for like free for a good bit of time. You know what I mean? In just kind of getting to know all the members as well. Because at the time, Perpetua was in Lime Street. They were on Lime Street.
Okay.
So it was only a little small box.
Sure.
And it was very much like community focused. Like everyone in that CrossFit area knew each other. You know what I mean? They knew everyone. So a new face coming in takes a while to build up. But then from there that's how I got into coaching. Yeah, really.
Okay. And then how have you liked over the years sort of evolving coaching wise, and then into your new role as sort of head of CrossFit and Perpetua? Have you really found that change, and have you liked stepping into that role and sort of taking more of a lead on, you know, the programming and all that sort of organizational stuff in terms of the CrossFit here at Perpetua?
Yeah, it's obviously built my way up through the ranks, as they
Sure
say.
thing. Climbed the
But
ladder.
there was always a lot going on with Perpetua. Like I was there in Lime Street for over a year and a bit, and then the lads had planned on opening up Windmill Lane, so they had some new concepts, obviously, like the tread and stuff like that. So they were like, oh, maybe he'd be interested in coaching that. We went to London before we opened up Windmill Lane.
Sure thing.
And went to like Barry's boot camp and all them in the state or in the UK.
Okay.
Went and looked at them classes, and I was like, I love this.
Took some
It's a good
inspiration
buzz,
from
like,
that,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like I was like, this is class buzz. I'd love to be able to teach this. Then we went home, started like practicing classes that was going to happen in Windmill Lane when it opened. Then we opened Windmill Lane, and then started getting into obviously the tread. So coached there.
And how have you liked that sort of spreading your time between the two? I know sort of more focused on the CrossFit most of the time, but taking some tread classes over the years and still going with them. How do you like that sort of changing up
good
the
mix,
routine?
you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
obviously I loved CrossFit. I was still training CrossFit full time. Wasn't doing like just
Exactly.
tread classes. Was doing CrossFit full time. Then obviously was kind of moving up the ranks in tread. Was still just coaching in CrossFit, and then ended up being head coach in the tread side of things.
Okay.
So then CrossFit actually took a little bit of a back step. So
Okay.
I taught less class in CrossFit and more in tread. And then obviously roles changed in the gym.
Okay.
And then
You
the lads
moved
were
into
like,
that CrossFit role.
yeah, moved into CrossFit role. They were like, oh, we want you to kind of move into CrossFit role, almost taking a step back. And I was like, perfect, would love that. Like obviously it was doing lots of different programming on the side as well for different people.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like that. And it's different. It's hard. You know what I mean? It's not easy. There's a lot going on,
Sure.
especially within the gym. There's loads of stuff going on, as most people know. But it's great. There's a lot of members and a lot of like room to improve as well. Like
Absolutely.
build it up. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
nice
loving
to
it.
help people and stuff along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
and
It's good.
Make a difference in that way.
Yeah, and it's a
Absolutely.
good team we have as well. So it's always good to like with different people. Yeah, it's a good buzz. I
Sure
like
thing.
it.
And then I suppose we'll get into, so put a bit of focus onto last year, the last weekend in October. You had the wise idea to compete in both the HYROX Dublin event as well as the Dublin Marathon in the same weekend on consecutive days. So talk to me a bit about how that sort of came about, what one was the first one you'd signed up for, and sort of how that all fell into place.
Yeah, I signed up for the Dublin Marathon first. So I actually booked that the Dublin Marathon runs on like a lottery.
Sure
you know, you just sign your name up and then you
sort
get
of
put
year
into the
before,
draw.
just after the previous
Yeah,
one.
it was actually after the Dublin Marathon in 2022.
Okay.
I went out to watch it. My girlfriend was running it. Went out to watch it, and I was like, "Geez, this is a buzz." I'd never seen a marathon before. And I was like, "This is actually a buzz. Like, it's class." Like Dublin was hopping.
Yeah.
Great night out after that one as well. So I was like, "Geez, that'd be great to sign up for." So I think they were doing a lottery in November. Okay. And I just put my name down for, I think it's like €10 to sign up or whatever it was.
Sure.
And then got a ticket then before December of that year, and then just paid for a ticket. And I was like, "That's what I'm doing in 2023.
Sure thing.
I'm gonna try and run the."
And was there any plan to ever do a marathon before that, or was it sort of just like went to the Dublin Marathon 2021 or 2022 rather, sort of enjoyed it and was like, right, we'll put that in the calendar and try and get that done?
It's literally the buzz that I seen around town. I was like, that's class. Like you're literally like looking at people running, finishing over the finish line, or just running it, and like the support in Dublin was unbelievable. I was like, you can do CrossFit competitions or different competitions, and the sport's great. This was like next level. So I was like,
thousands upon
you
thousands
feel like
of people out on the street.
You feel left out that you're not doing it. You know what I mean? When you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I want to be in there and I want to run, I want to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Pushing yourself. You see people like, it's like challenging, you know what I mean?
Sure thing.
So I was like, I want to get into that. So signed up, and that was then going to be the goal for 2023.
And then, so once you got your spot on the ballot with the marathon, was it sort of, don't worry about training for the time being, we'll worry about that sort of when the summer approaches, sort of 3-4 months out? Or was there any sort of slight emphasis on changing training already that year out? Was there any sort of focus already on running, or was it just like, no, we'll leave that, stick with the regular CrossFit stuff,
I was kind of just
towards...
I was kind of just keeping CrossFit training going, and then I was going to build it up like a few weeks out. I was adding in a long run, say, once a week.
Okay.
That was it. So me and Patrick from the gym as well, I was like going out doing runs, and he was like, oh, like he's a good runner. Absolutely. And then he was like, oh, I'll come along with you. So then me and him started going once a week, and we did that for like a couple of months, but it was only one run. We didn't I didn't have a plan in place for the marathon. I was like, get out, run outside, like a 10K.
A few miles in the legs.
Yeah, exactly. Just a 10K once a week, and that's all we were doing. And then when me and Pat were actually out running, he was like, HYROX. All this was coming into trend.
Sure thing.
You know, like...
because it was quite new on the scene at the time. It still is, I suppose, in ground legs now.
Yeah,
but definitely. That time last year, it
wasn't that big.
Really,
you know what I mean?
well
like, yeah. And then the lads were like talking about in the gym. Pat was like, he was interested, and he was actually looking at the program, and even like a year before that, this thing HYROX, he actually brought it, I think, to me. He was like, I'm looking at this, we were using it for tread classes. He was like, look at this program, it's called HYROX, it's like running and stuff like that, and he started using that for like tread classes at the time. And then he was like, oh, they're actually doing an event in Dublin, and I was like, me and you should do that, like, but they didn't have a date when they were doing it. And I was like, we should definitely do that like together, because we were looking at the pairs, then we got more invested in it. And then the gym actually got affiliated with HYROX as well at that time, kind of in that space of that like first few months of the year, I think it was anyway. At the start of that year, then they affiliated, we got the sled tracks in, me and Pat were like, we're definitely
ready to go. Yeah, this
so we
is
were
fun.
Like, you know when you're out on a run and you're like buzzing.
The world's your oyster, I suppose, when you're out on a run.
Do anything. Like, so me and him were like that, we'll do that when it comes. And then they announced the date, and it was the day before. It was 28th of October, and then the marathon was on the 29th.
Perfect.
And I was like, Jesus, that'll be...
Was there a second thought at all, or was it still, no, let's
I was
do
like,
it?
I don't know about that. Like, that'd be hard.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we will... I was like, I'll do it. Like, I already have the marathon ticket. And Pat was like, I'd love to do the HYROX. And I was like, right, we'll do that. We'll get a ticket. So we got a ticket for that. I said to Pat that he should do the marathon as well, but he obviously didn't, because he obviously had
took that easy option.
Yeah, he had a kid on the way as well, so I don't think he could take that
busy
time.
In
or
other areas,
maybe Sinead would have killed him. I don't know. But yeah, his missus probably would have killed him if he took that much time off. But then I signed up for that, and then when we signed up for that at that time, I think that's when it was like starting coming into summer, and I was like, I need to get a training plan over the next, like, say 12 weeks, I think it was, or 16 weeks actually was 16 weeks out for that. I was like, right, I need to start doing some proper runs, because I didn't know like what way to program for running, you know what I mean? Program for CrossFit and stuff like that. Obviously, I never even looked into it, because I didn't want to be running. So didn't look into that. So
I suppose for anyone listening who isn't too familiar with the HYROX concept yet, if you might explain that sort of slightly in terms of how it works with the 8 1-kilometer runs, and then the sort of exercises in between, and how you sort of went about approaching that sort of style of training. So
the HYROX is 8K worth of running, and in between each K you have different movements.
Okay.
So you have like ski erg, so it's like 1,000 meter ski erg. The race is always the same, or the format's always the same.
Sure thing.
So it's like 1,000 meter ski, then you have 50 meter sled pull or sled push, then a 50 meter sled push, then you have rowing, sandbag lunges, burpee broad jumps, farmers carries, and wall balls then to finish it out.
Okay.
Not in that order exactly.
Sure thing.
They're all the movements that are in there. All the movements in between, like if you're doing CrossFit,
cake, absolutely.
yeah, like if you're
so you would've
CrossFit,
been
you're going to touch
comfortable
on them.
going into it.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to touch on them when you're doing CrossFit the whole way through. They're
Sure.
like, you know, your machines, they're literally, as they'd say, bread and butter. They're
Absolutely.
easy. You're going to you're going to fly through them, but it's just the running. Obviously,
Okay.
I haven't done, and pacing it and seeing what it's like.
Sure
So
thing.
that was the HYROX. So kind of like knew what to expect coming into it, knew me and Pat would be strong on the machines and strong on all that stuff. So in the build up to that, I was like, don't need to worry about that training so much.
Okay.
Just want to try and focus on kind of the running. So about 16 weeks out, I actually just got in touch with one of the lads from Cork, who's a CrossFitter as well.
Okay.
Like he's like done all the CrossFit competitions, and I was like, no, he'd be a good person to just get in touch with, see what he says about like programming for that.
Setting it up, sort of.
Yeah, so I just asked him, would he be able to do it?
Okay.
Because he
And this is for the HYROX side of things?
this is for the HYROX. No, this is for HYROX
For
and the
everything?
marathon. So this
Okay.
is for the this is
So
mainly for the
putting two
marathon.
together.
Yeah, mainly for the marathon. So he did me out a program from 16 weeks, kind of broke it down into like weeks 1 to 4, then
thing.
weeks 4 to 8, and then 8 to 12, and then
Okay.
12 to 16.
Yeah.
That was kind of the block that we had booked off.
Okay.
So he programmed that for me.
Okay.
And the way it kind of worked training wise was like 3 runs a week. So it was like 1 easy run, 1 interval run, and then 1 kind of like easy longer run.
Okay.
So it's 3 days a week running.
Sure thing.
Started off with the 3 days a week running, then brought it to 2 because
Body started falling
body was
apart.
like, yeah, starting to break a little bit.
Okay.
Especially because I was like, I didn't want to lose any weight. You know,
Exactly,
paranoid
along the
about
way.
getting even
Yeah.
skinnier. So I was like paranoid about that. So I brought it down to 2 runs, and I kind of just stuck with 2 runs, like an interval run and then a long run.
Okay.
And the build up to
Sure thing.
both the HYROX and
then how many times will you be training then CrossFit sort of style or weight training wise
I was
during those weeks?
I was keeping up CrossFit training then every other day. So I was like doing
Okay.
no, it was kind of like both days I'd do double session if I had a run.
Sure thing.
I do run in kind of like the AM, and then I do a CrossFit class in the evening or at lunchtime or whatever it was. Then Tuesday would just be CrossFit, Wednesday would be intervals, and then it'd be CrossFit for the rest of the week.
Okay.
So the other 2 or 3 days was all CrossFit.
Sure.
So it was mainly CrossFit I was doing with that kind of endurance stuff built in there as well. So I didn't change up anything massively because I feel like, especially with CrossFit, you're building up a good engine.
Exactly,
It's just
yeah.
kind of like, and then again for HYROX, I was hitting on all those movements. I was hitting wall balls, rowing, skiing, all that stuff. So that was fine. It felt
Sure
like I
thing.
didn't need to really prepare too much for that. It was
Yeah.
just kind of the running. But then
Okay.
kind of did take a little bit of step back on the strength stuff, like leg strength. Like I found it very hard when you're doing a 30k run throughout a week, then to be getting in like loads of
A heavy
squat
session
session.
sort of.
You're crippled, you know yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very hard to be able to do that. So kind of just stuck away from the heavy side of stuff.
Sure thing.
But still kept up CrossFit. You know what I
Kept
mean?
sort of maintenance wise going
Yeah.
that way. Okay. And then how did you find fitting all that training in? Because obviously very busy, a lot of early mornings in here, some sort of later nights and stuff. How did you find fitting all of that in around that busy schedule?
Yeah.
Was it tough at times, or was it just sort of like when you have that little 2-hour window, it's just like, no, got to get it done. Let's just get out if it's for that run, or get into the gym and just get the hour and a half of training done.
Yeah,
How
I
did that
didn't
sort of
think
work?
I didn't think it was too tough. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's like, especially in the gym, used to train or wants to train and stuff like that. I didn't
Okay.
find it too hard. Found like some days like, oh yeah, I have to go out and do a 21k run. You're like, oh my god, like it's taking like 2 hours or
bit
whatever it is
daunting,
just to
yeah.
do that. You know what I mean? Just do that one run, and that's without your strength stuff. So it was tough fitting it in. Some days, but like you're gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just was like, that
exactly.
was like kind of my mindset, but
Wasn't
behind
going
the
to
boat
be
of them.
forever. There's a time limit on.
No,
sort of
yeah, and it's like
you're working up towards something. And
yeah,
I suppose
like you
that's
have
sort
to
of
do it,
benefit.
so you may as well just do it. There's no
Yeah.
like overthinking or anything like that. Like
Okay.
we go out, do the run, come back, PT, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like I remember
on
one of
with
the days I was doing like a 20, I think it was a 21 or 25k could have been,
Okay.
and I had like just enough time to get it done if I held like the certain pace. So I went
Okay.
out, did it, came back in, and
No
one
time for a
of my
shower,
PTs was
straight
already
in.
there. No, didn't even factor in the
Yeah.
shower. I was like, came back in, had like 2 bottles of Lucozade and a bottle of Powerade. And then I just was like looking at them. PT was already there. Just drank 2 bottles of Lucozade back to back. My PT was like, "Are you all right?"
Okay, yeah.
I was like, "Yeah."
Should I
sound.
be trusting this person?
Yeah. I was like, "Let's go. We're ready
Yeah.
to go." Like,
Okay.
Yeah, so like, you know, some days you're busy, you just
Yeah,
have to do it. Like,
absolutely.
just get it done, fit it in. But
And
yeah,
then sort of touching on that nutritional point, did you feel like, how did your nutrition change along the way? Did you feel like you had to eat a lot more, or was that training volume already quite high before going into that sort of 16-week block? Or did you feel like you were sort of then really focusing on just getting those calories in and focusing on the nutrition? Did you find there was a big difference on when you're eating well, performance and recovery wise, compared to if that diet might have slipped at all along the way?
yeah, I know it might sound stupid, but like actually kind of like changed my mindset on that whole like nutrition around training completely. At the start, I was like, with CrossFit, like it's an hour class. You're not going to be really working more in a workout than maybe 20 minutes. So I never really think about nutrition during. You know what I mean? Maybe before and after. Like nutrition was decent before the whole way doing CrossFit. Like, you know what I mean? In between events, blah, 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 you're eating like your carbs and getting your protein in. But during, I never really looked at that. You know what I mean? And I thought like, even going out at the start, like 15, 20K runs, I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, don't need any gels. Don't need anything on these. I'll be fine. Like, you know what I mean? I had good breakfast beforehand. And especially when you're working, you're like, maybe I'm just having a banana and then I'm going out and then it hit me like I was doing a long run, like 25K, and I was like dead. Like with like 18K, and I was like, what's going on? Then I asked one of the lads, like he was a runner, and he was like, man, like you're 90 something kilo, you're trying to hold on to that weight, more muscle mass, you're going to be burning off way more. He was like, you should be taking gels like every 4K, every 5K. So then as soon as I heard that, I was like, started looking into it like a little bit more, and then like started looking up stuff like if you're heavier athlete and stuff like that. So then any run I went on after that, I was like just fueling up big time, like way more than I thought I would need. And the difference it made was like so if you're thinking about doing a marathon and you're trying to keep on weight and stuff like that, or even if you're not, I think even if you're a little bit lighter, fuel, like
you're
that's
looking
it,
to perform, you got to be fueled up,
like
feeling when you don't want to and staying
exactly
on top
just keep on top of it, like
before it's gone away from you.
So I definitely think it did change my whole idea of like, not idea of it, but like it definitely just changed and helped, I'd say, like nutrition around training. You know what I mean? And watching what you're eating, and can't just get away with eating Bunsen's because you'll get skinny fat.
Gotta stay away from that.
You don't want.
And then so as you sort of progressed through that plan, then you sort of come into that sort of 2 weeks to go, week out from that weekend at the end of October. How did you set up for that weekend? How did you sort of let that body recover? Was there a lot of massages involved? Was there a lot of focus on nutrition, or was it just a lot of rest, a lot of sleep, and sort of letting the body recover that way? How did you sort of go about setting up for that weekend?
Yeah, like I didn't overthink it too much. Like I was like 2 weeks out, I trained probably like 2 weeks out, trained quite normal. The long runs had kind of tapered off. And I was like in that last like from like 12 to 16, it was a little bit of a taper. It was kind of more fast runs. I did a lot of them on like the True Form and stuff like that. So rather than being outside, because I was getting like bit of knee pain, bit of ankle pain as expected, like when you're doing all that stuff, but didn't really change anything too much for 2 weeks out. Then it got a week out, and I just kind of like slowed down the training, and like people were just saying like eat a little bit more. Saying that was probably still like relatively normal, you know what I mean? I was still coaching, I was still doing like I wasn't trying to like completely shut off. And then the night before, the 14th, or the Friday before or 2 days before, Thursday, just stopped training completely. Did like got a massage on the Thursday, kind of chilled out on the Friday, didn't do much. And then
good
on the
Saturday, on the Friday night.
Well, tried to, It's actually like, you're just like, you know, when you have something that you know you have in your head, you're like, oh. So me and Paf did not feel good before the event on the Saturday.
Oh, really?
At all, yeah.
So talk to me about that, sort of getting up on that Saturday morning. How did you go about it? Sort of what's the lead up like to the HYROX? You sort of get given your time, and then is it sort of like you're arriving an hour, 2 hours before at the RDS, is it? Yeah,
because the HYROX is on in the RDS.
Sure thing.
That was on Saturday, and then luckily enough, you collect your marathon ticket.
In the same spot.
So very I had handy. That. So I knew I was going to do that on the Saturday. So it was good thinking.
Must have been the only one doubling up.
Yeah, I'd say so. I might have been one or two. I didn't hear of anyone else doing it, but yeah. So that was lucky enough that was right beside it. So kind of was getting a ticket then on Saturday. But on the Friday, you're given your heat time. So me and Pat were in the men's doubles. So it was like 8 a.m. So I was like quite chilled. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's 8 o'clock. It was like 10 past 8, I think, our actual starting time. We were the second heat going. And then me and Pat decided to go for a coffee around the coffee shop at like 7:30, and I was like at 7 o'clock. And I was only eating my oats then, like quite late,
quite like, close to
eating oats and banana. And then we got over to the RDS, and like the queues were big, and we were like, shit,
We're gonna
like,
miss
you know what I
this.
mean? Yeah, like it was like 7:30 and the queue it was out the door. I was like, shit, like everyone else is like coming in, so we kind of had to like run in there. Then obviously need to go to the bathroom before.
Sure thing.
Queues for the jacks were out the door. Like it literally took us like 20 minutes. So it was like 8:00. We're on at 8:10. Me and Pat were like bit panicked, like had to run across to the start line. So we did like 0 warm up, had our oats like half an hour beforehand.
Like
and then we're literally like, true
Absolutely.
professionals, like really messed up. Like I'd say that's one thing that we did mess up with. And I was like in my head from like the build up, like gonna get a good stretch in, because you know if you stretch beforehand, you're warmed up well, you're not gonna be as sore after.
Absolutely.
Which I was thinking, like you know what I mean, because marathon next
day,
day,
and the recovery afterwards.
And then we got in there like literally on the starting line, like did a few leg swings, you know what I mean? Like that was our warm up. I was like, this first 1K is gonna be absolutely horrible. But then
rip a hamstring off the bone.
exactly but then like obviously you settle into it. Like it was like we were absolutely gassed out on the first bit.
Sure thing.
Like first 1K and then into the ski erg, that's the first station. Absolutely. So we were absolutely gassed. But then after that we were alright. They kind of settled into it.
Found your routine.
Yeah.
And then was there any sort of game plan going into that first event? Was there sort of time wise on the runs you wanted to stick to, or was it just sort of like, let's just go out here, have a bit of fun?
Yeah, we didn't have any, like, we kind of just were like, we'll just talk to each other throughout it. Like, if one of us feeling a little bit like we need to pull the pace back, we'll pull the pace back. But we didn't really, like, first one, we didn't really know what to expect, you know what I mean, or what it was going to be like. So we kind of went out really hot at the start, probably a bit too hot, and then kind of just settled in. Sure. But we didn't go into it too much of a plan. Sure. We were kind of we had the plan on, like, the machines and on the other movements, what we were going to do.
Break them up.
Yeah, but we didn't actually have, like, a big plan that we were, like, going to keep our paces at like 450, like whatever it was, you know what I mean? Like we just kind of settled into it. If one of us was a little bit more tired coming off one of the machines or anything like that, we pull the pace back. Sure. You know, so
yeah, take a bit of a breather.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how did you get on? So what time did you finish in, and were you happy with it? And
we finished it in like 1:03, but we got 2 penalties.
Okay.
We got like 2 3-minute penalties, like two of them. Couldn't tell you what they're for. I think one of them might have been for burpees, because they don't actually tell you. You only look at like you finish, you can see your time on the board. It was like 1:03, and then when you go back and look at it, you get plus 2 penalties. So we're plus 6 minutes. Happy with the 1:03, like when we finished it. Yeah. But we did an extra lap at the start. Okay. So we think it could have been for that. So like in the RDS, they had like 4 laps at the start, 3 laps for each K or whatever it was. Sure. And we did 4 on the first one. Okay. So we think that's what the penalty was. And then my burpees are a little bit dodgy.
Questionable. Okay.
Yeah, halfway through I was doing CrossFit burpees. Could have been cheating a few reps. So that's what I think we got the penalties for. But like, we definitely like when we did the extra lap, kind of like pushed us well to make up a little bit of time. So we were really like pushing then towards the back half of the workout as well. Yeah. But no, I think we're happy enough with that one again. And then like first time you do it, like first new event. Next time we go into it, I would definitely be like more prepared. Okay. Yeah. And realize what's going on. You know what I mean? And be like there early. Obviously, I know it sounds so stupid, like coming from someone who's competed loads of times in different sports, but like get there early, do your warm up, be on time. And I think we could definitely shave. I think we could go close to an hour if we did it again. You know what I mean? A couple of minutes off. Absolutely. Yeah. Even though like I was obviously felt like I was super fit running wise because I had done all the running previous to that. Yeah. But like, I think we could push it again. And then sort of the back end of that event, how did the rest of that Saturday go recovery wise? Did you get up to anything, or was it just purely get yourself sorted for the morning, get some good fuel in, nice and carbed up, and then get ready to go? Yeah, it kind of went like, as soon as it finished, we were finished early. It was at like, we were the first heat, so 8 o'clock. We were like out of the building all by like 10 o'clock. Went and collected the marathon ticket in the RDS, and then got food. Kind of just chilled out, walked around. Probably everyone was like saying stay off your feet and stuff like that the day before, which obviously you should, but like I was like walking around like things like keep the legs nice and loose. Keep the legs moving. 'Cause my legs were actually extremely sore after. Okay. We did a simulation like 2 or 3 weeks before that, or probably 4 weeks before that. Sure. And I did a long run. My legs were grand. Okay. I after I was like, my 2 quads were like cramping up after the HYROX. I was like, fuck, I'm dead after this. So just kind of like chilled out. Actually got a sauna, ice baths was main one, was like ice baths that night. Then had an Epsom salts bath that night, and just ate loads, like pasta, cooked pasta for me and one of the housemates. Okay. And we just chilled out. It was actually the World Cup final was on. Rugby World Cup final was on the day before that. So I watched that, chilled out, got to bed relatively early, and then got up early. Okay. And then how are you feeling that next morning, the morning of the marathon, the Sunday? Woke up and my 2 IT bands down my legs were killing me.
Okay.
They were so tight. Like I had never I was like, I haven't had tightness in both my IT bands ever before. And I was like, why are they so sore? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly what you want going into a marathon.
And especially on one side, like it was like my right hand side because of the track in the RDS.
The turn.
Same turn. So I was like, felt like I was turning on that leg the whole way through.
Yeah.
So I was like, shit. got up early next day, had like good bit of food. Obviously you're nervous before the marathon. You're like thinking about it, you know, struggling to eat. Got electrolytes into me. Still felt all right.
Okay.
Actually came into the gym and did like a 8K on the bike and did a stretch. This was early in the morning. Just came in, did that, had some tunes on. It was like feeling good. Got a little bit more food into me, some more water. Okay. And then from there walked up to the starting line.
Perfect. And then talk me through that. So how did the 42K go on Sunday morning? Happy with it?
Enjoyable.
Painful?
Probably one of the best sporting or like competing experiences I've ever had.
Okay.
It was painful, but like it wasn't really like the start of it, my legs were on fire. So for the first 5K, IT bands are super tight and then you just fit into it.
They loosen up
like,
into it.
You're meeting different people. There's loads of people that I've seen from like the gym and stuff like that, even just at the starting line.
Sure.
And then got into it. After
sort of feed off the crowd and get a lot of adrenaline sort of as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Pulls you through that first section.
And then like obviously first marathon, again, it's like one of those ones you don't really know where to go. You know, like you're like, I'll just stay back and like kind of just get in with the crowd. And then when you start running a little bit more, you get a little bit more comfortable. And then I was like staying kind of like just behind the like 350 balloons. And I was like, right, that's where I'm going to stay. Just like after 10K, I was like, I'm just going to settle in and I'm going to just stay with these.
Okay.
And the pace that was there was like not easy, but like I could talk to people. Like I was trying to talk to people. So people were like, fuck off.
Keep your mind off it. Yeah.
Like I was just like talking to people and there was good buzz around Dublin.
Sure thing.
The weather was shit. Obviously it was like, it was raining. It was raining at the start line and stuff like that. And then I didn't mind that. I was like, it's kind of a good
midway
buzz.
Through sort of, yeah.
Okay. Then settled into it. Stayed with the 350 balloons kind of the whole way.
All the way through. Perfect.
I would say towards the back end, I was like, the balloons started to get a little bit further
away.
Distance. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep these. But then like obviously there's loads of people around that you see, and I think my nutrition on the day was really good. Like I was taking gels
like, all the way through,
times, like every 4 or 5K.
Sure thing.
I was taking more every water station, and then I actually, towards the back end of it, was talking to a girl when we were running.
Sure.
And then kind of me and her just stayed together towards the back end. And then she really pushed me, like my pace got better and better. And then we actually caught up with the 350
the balloon
balloons
again.
And then went past 350 balloons. So I did it in under the 350, which I was delighted about.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, not saying it was hard, but it was definitely doable. Like the back end of it was tough. Like you definitely hit that wall. 10K. Like, you know, you're in unknown territory. You didn't never.
Absolutely.
The most you ran in training was 32K. I didn't run anything past that, so it was like tough, but like super enjoyable. Like when you're running, you're like it's class. Like, you know what I mean? Even pissing around, you're like halfway through. Like when it starts to get tough, you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, all them thoughts are coming into your head. You know what I mean? And then I'm starting to think in my own head. I'm like, like none of these did the HYROX yesterday, so they wouldn't be sore. You know what I mean? You start thinking this stuff in your head, and you need to get that out of your head and just like keep moving, keep
ticking along.
Yeah, absolutely. I never felt like I was not going to finish it. You know what I mean? Like I was like always like, I'm going to finish this no matter what, and I'm always going to keep running. That was like kind of the goal, and I feel like I stuck to it. Absolutely. But honestly, like one of the most enjoyable days I'd say I had out there, like
competing and stuff. And then how's that first pint of Guinness after in
class.
In toners
straight after, straight
must have been nice.
But like you're absolutely soaked. Like I remember you came, Thomas, he did it as well.
Absolutely.
He came.
I was a bit behind.
Yeah, he had no spare t-shirt or anything like that. Yeah. But luckily, my girlfriend and brother brought me like towels and 2 t-shirts and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So obviously you're freezing after marathon, especially because it's soaking. So I gave you t-shirt as well, and towel and stuff like that you need to get into. But yeah, at the end of it was like it's so buzzing that you completed it. You know what I mean? That you finished it. Kind of
great sense of accomplishment, I suppose. After all that.
Yeah, and you just think like you see people in the marathon, you're like, anyone can do this.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you see people like pushing wheelchairs and stuff like that, and you're like, anyone can do this. And I think everyone should do it at some point in their lives. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone's capable of doing it, and it's good for the head, I think. Yeah, definitely. Sort of makes you realize what you're capable of, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then how does that week after how did the body hold up? Was it no training for that week? Was it sort of struggling to get out of bed? How was that? Was there a lot of recovery involved, or? Yeah, I didn't feel too bad after. Obviously, my legs were super tight, like joints, like knees and ankles were super tight, and like quads and stuff like that after the 2 days. But it wasn't like crippling, and I wasn't super tired. Yes, a little bit more fatigued. So it took, I think, 2 days off, didn't do anything, and then went back on, just did easy spin on the bike. Nice, easy stuff, yeah. Yeah, and then after that first week, kind of just got back into normal training, like CrossFit training, tried to get back into it. Yeah, like took it a little bit easier.
Sure thing.
You know what I mean? But then like, I was like, the more you wait around, the more stiff you're going to get and tired you're going to get as well.
Just got to sort of push through it, I suppose. Yeah.
Push through it a little bit, like obviously get back on eating good food throughout the week after the pints on Sunday and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of got back into it pretty much a week after, and was back in training then after that. Sure, which is good. Yeah, I feel like it's a good thing to do, is get back in moving, even if it's only at 50%, 60%.
Exactly. You know? Yeah, it's better than
just sitting around. Getting stiff.
Yeah, and then looking forward, is there any more sort of events or challenges like that you'd like to do, or you have planned anything in that sort of area, or are you just going to stick with sort of training regularly CrossFit wise for now, keeping the eye in there?
Yeah, gonna probably do a few CrossFit competitions this year. Okay, maybe like 2s, I think, individual competition, maybe take a back step, but I'll do like definitely like team competitions, teams of 2 competition. Yeah, and then I'll do another HYROX event. One of my clients from Perpetua wants to do Copenhagen, so told him I'd do him. That's in a few months now. So we'll do that.
Nice excuse to get to Copenhagen,
get a little bit of a trip away. It'd be good to do it with one of the clients as well that I'm training as well, and he's great. So we'll be able to do a little bit of a test. They're actually doing a simulation this weekend in Petra. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do that here, and then
see where the fitness is.
With 2 of us, and just good fun. So I'll do that, and I'll probably do another HYROX this year, and then a few cross competitions. But marathons, I don't think anymore. I think one and done. I think that's it. Maybe a few halves. Like they're always good. I think running's good for the head. Yeah, exactly. It's good for getting out and spending a little bit of time outside by yourself. It's always good. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that'll be it for this year. Okay. But who knows?
Very good. Well, an impressive weekend, and thanks a million for that. That was a great shot.
Easy.
Perfect.
Good first podcast back in the new studio.
Yeah, started off well.
Good. Perfect. Alrighty. Easy. Thanks, Tom.
No worries.